takes his inspiration from Hans-Joachim Stuck.
He'll have to be very loud to beat all of that thrash metal, which is probably being pumped out from various areas of the campsites this year. And isn't it so good to have that back for the first time in 3 years?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Very glorious.
Such a big part of this event, Chip.
Massive, massive. In glorious sunshine now, heading to the ice curver, is Jonathan Hershey, not hanging around, setting personal bests pretty much all the way around this lap for Ferrari number 19. A little bit of traffic up ahead with some Cup 3 Caymans, and get used to that, because with the cars sent off at 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon in 3 different batches, 3 different grids, it really won't take very long for the leading SP9 cars to catch the lower order classes and then having to deal with that for the best part of 24 hours.
It's normally on the second lap, isn't it? They've just started their first lap, and we've got slightly fewer cars than we're allowed. Just under 140. The cap now is at 170 for a full race. But a very strong field in terms of the quality of the field. It's been a long time since we've had the 200s that we used to see in yesteryear. A lot of the smaller engine categories for safety reasons, as the race got faster and faster with the GT3 cars. A lot of those smaller engine capacity cars were left out, which I understand that some people like those. There were some fan favourites among those, little Daihatsus and Suzuki Swifts. But the speed differential even now between the top GT3 cars and even the middle of the field, never mind the back of the field, is quite eye-opening for us sitting here. What it must be like in the driver's seat of the car doing the passing, or indeed the car being passed. I shudder to think.
Yes, but you know, you look at the key teams, and there are 15, 20 of them that have all a chance of winning this event. You know, that Nürburgring experience, you can have sports car experience, but I would say it needs to be specific to here and the intricacies of winning this race. They just know how to deal with that traffic, and in trying weather conditions where they can and can't put the car. There's a racing line, yes, but very often you're not even on that, on the approach to certain corners. And sometimes you're approaching a corner at a completely different speed from what you're used to, because you might be coming out of a code 120, a code 60 locally, remember, because there are speed limits in place when incidents are being dealt with. And then as soon as you see a green flag, you go again with probably your rivals right on your tailpipes, because that, again, we'll explain this in detail, but sometimes 10-second gaps can disappear on a lap because you're going into a yellow flag area, and in the initial phase of yellow flag, there's no rule about closing that gap up. You just can't overtake. So sometimes a 10-15-second gap just disappears, and that's the fascinating element of this race, as the 33 Falcon Motorsport Porsche heads back into pit lane, and their box pretty early on in pit road, 33 and 44 operating out of the same garage. I was thinking actually yesterday, Black Falcon of old used to enter more than one car into this race, but elected to have a garage at the start and at the end of the pit lane, and that's very, very smart. Not many teams have done that this year. Now, whether that's been mandated against, but 33 and 44, as I say, operating out of box number 6, which again means that you've got to be so careful with how you operate during the race.
So the two Falcon Tyres cars in those very distinctive colours. Legendary colours, certainly iconic. And we've got a Golf Mark 7 in TCR that's running in those colours as well. Welcome along if you're just joining us, halfway through the first qualifying session for the 2022 50th anniversary Total Energies ADAC 24 hours of the Nürburgring, and a very good afternoon as it is to Ben Constanduris, who joins us for the first time in the broadcast down through the years. We've been here since 2007. Welcome along. Not your first trip, I'm sure, to the Nürburgring, but first to the 24 hours?
not to the event, because a few years ago, the World Touring Car Championship, as it was then, joined as a support category, and at that point I was still part of it, so I had 1 year of working on that event, and therefore having the opportunity to be a fan here, and
nice.
to go around the campsites and see just the incredible atmosphere that is put on by the loyal fans that fill the campsites around the area, and we were discussing this morning how much of those fans just love being at the event. Doesn't necessarily mean they are sitting watching the race lap by lap, but they are. It's sort of a soundtrack as well as the music that is performed, and so I was able to be part of that and see what it is like from a fan perspective. Great to be in the compound with you guys this weekend, and to hopefully learn as much as the rest of us on how this works with 100 and you mentioned just under 140 cars on the entry list. We've only actually seen 134 on track in this session so far, and of those 134, only 126 so far have set full lap time. So some of those you would expect, the SP9 cars that were blocked from the first 20 minutes haven't yet set lap times, such as Christopher Mies in the 24 Audi Sport Collection. They haven't actually got a lap time in yet, but he should soon complete his first lap. And Nico Menzel is another car that hasn't set a lap time and is in sector 3 of the lap now in the Porsche Huber Motorsport. Those are two kind of headline SP9 cars we haven't seen. CP Racing obviously haven't set a lap time, but we saw why, because of the little contact down at turn 1.
Yeah, that was with the Toyota Altis, one of the Team Thailand, Toyota Gazoo Thailand cars, the 120, not the full Thai driver team. Natavuda Charansuka Watana was out in the 119 early on, and I think he was at one stage was leading his class. We'll check that. No Manta Foxtail this year. If you're just catching up on it and you're regular here, there was a nasty fire in the garage where that car is prepared, and not sure about it. Didn't look too bad, but it was likely to have been the last outing in this race for that fan favourite car, the old style Opel Manta, running the Foxtail on the aerial. And we were wondering what cars might take over. We were musing on Twitter last week about what cars might take over. Suggested that the Ford Mustang was quite characterful. There is a Dacia Logan running in this race, pitted with a whole lot of GT3 cars, extraordinarily. I think it's in with the 2 Rover Racing cars, if I remember rightly from the walk down the pit lane yesterday. We've got those 2 Toyota Team Gazoo Thailand Altis. Something about unassuming cars that seems to catch the attention of you, the enthusiast, watching and listening around the world. All live and free, of course, this weekend across the Radio Show Limited network and our syndications, and looking after our TV colleagues as well for the race. Another contretemps at turn 1 a moment or two ago with the KTM Crossball hitting the Alpecin BMW, the 102 car, and that was the car that was turned around, and that 102 is still not rejoined properly. That is the Valkenhorst Motorsport car of Jörg Müller, Mario van Bolen, Ben Tuck and Jon Schmidt-Stade.
I think the KTM was the 116.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's the Max Hofer, Tim Heinemann, Mads Stielhaug, excuse me, and Reinhard Koffler.
I think Max Hofer aboard that car right now.
And we are in need of some assistance down at turn 1. Very easy to get it wrong down there in terms of on your own, but also easy. Oh, I think he's just run into the safety car that was pulling him back out the way, the Audi there as well. Also easy to perhaps have a little bit of mixed communication because the line into that is very difficult. As you come down the hill into turn 1, which is normally a very tight right-hander, there is a slight kink in the start-finish straight, and you leave a lot of room on the inside there, and it can look as if you're going to let someone through. As I say, easy to get wires crossed. Coming down the Dottinger at the moment, Anti-Burley for Hyundai in the i30 NTCR. This is number 831 car. They have an Elantra as well, entered by Hyundai Motorsport. They have a performance centre here on Gottlieb Daimler Strasse, which is the street that runs parallel to the Dottinger on the other side of the public road, which is just to driver's left. Many of the major manufacturers and tier 1 suppliers, particularly tyre suppliers, have performance centres down that way.
And this car will be shared with Moritz Oestrich and Jean-Carl Venet, who is not only driving in the electric touring car championship, but also in the world TCR. So he's got double duty this weekend with the sprint races on Saturday morning and then jumping into this car. He's the only one of the 3 doing that, and likewise with the sister car, as you said, the Elantra, that will be piloted by Manuel Lauck, Mark Basseng and Michael Ashkenar. And Michael new to Hyundai, moving across from being a Works Cupra driver, and so he's getting his, I think, first opportunity to do the 24 hours. Already a race winner for Hyundai in the sprint races, due to his his sprint victory. I think that's I hope that's a replay and not what we've previously commented about the BMW running into the Audis.
Did it hit it, or did it just get caught on the tow rope as it was being driven backwards by Jörg Müller?
We've just seen Jörg Müller being towed away. There is still seemingly yellow flags down there, and on our screens we're seeing what seems to be a very similar incident where they've towed the car, and I think the Audi might have a little bit of damage. Hopefully not too much. Oh yes, the panel is missing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
So that's going to be an interesting insurance claim. What happened there? Well, the BMW racing car that I was towing ran into me.
As you can see, the campsite's already incredibly well filled. This being a holiday today, as was mentioned, the 24 hours always across a holiday weekend. Yeah. Sometimes the Monday being a holiday, but due to Ascension Day being a fixed day, it doesn't always sit on the same day, and today's a Thursday, so the holiday offices tend to be pretty quiet on a Friday after a Thursday bank holiday.
Do you think?
We see it in France as much as across the rest of Europe, where everyone just takes that day off and has, in France, what we call a pont, which is a bridge.
Yeah.
And I think many or most people, they came in very early, though. The campsite queues at the start of the week were mammoth already on Tuesday.
Yeah, there was a lot of people who came in early. Just a note on that incident earlier on between the number 21 AMG from CP Racing and the 120 Toyota Altis. The team manager has been asked to go and have a word with the clerk of the course from CP Racing. Hello to David King, who is listening in Sussex in the UK, listening and watching. It's not the same without you here, David. I hope you're settling into the new post. We'll miss your nocturnal visits and chats here on our coverage. David and his former employees, Aston Martin. In fact, David King got us involved in the first place back in 2007 was the first race that we covered here. And this is the first year that we've not had any Aston Martin involvement, but they are here with TF Racing. Mr. King, hope to see you here soon. There's still time, you know. Jump in a car, grab the Eurotunnel and get yourself down. You know you want to. He'd be taking in a bit of cricket this weekend as well, if I know David. So some remedial work going on down at turn 1 behind the tape from the front protective grille in front of the intercoolers for the air conditioning and the oil on the Audi recovery vehicle.
And Marshall's taking plenty of photos, presumably for that insurance claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting that Jo Müller hasn't got the 102 car moving again. It didn't seem like a big hit between himself and the KTM. The KTM seemingly still running, but 102 now parked up, which will end its session prematurely.
At RSL_studio, and that's how you get in touch with us. If you want to put something on the screen in front of us and tell us where you're watching and or listening from. RS1 for the audio via radio-show.co.uk, all free. And of course on our syndicated channels. There's video there as well. And variously around the world on different partner sites. And of course via the event website as well, where you will find a huge amount of information, including all the rules and regulations. 24h-rennen.de. Absolutely a mine of information.
Nicky Katzberg on a push lap, sitting behind the KTM, which I think in this particular series is classed as a GT3 car. Although in some series this Expo can be a GT2 spec, or we see it as a GTX in other series.
There's GT2, GT3 and GT4 versions, effectively.
Of the same car, yeah.
Because it's different varieties of tune. And
it's an SPX here.
Well.
Yeah.
Different engines. There's a 4 and a 5-cylinder version. Audi engines, of course, straight 4 and straight 5 in the variety of different varieties. As you get to the faster cars, they actually have a slightly wider body as well. Very impressive piece of engineering, carbon fibre chassis, and very quick in a straight line.
Yeah.
As Nicky Katzberg is finding out on the Dottinger Her. He's dragged up behind the KTM.
Oh, and you can actually hear the engine revs rise as he gets the slipstream from the KTM. He has the inside line on the Dottinger hose, so that's allowed him to get past. But he'll be very happy with that slipstream that he took all the way down the long straight. He's in quite a bulky BMW that's going to take a lot of punch to get through the air.
But they are very quick in a straight line,
yeah.
BMWs. We've seen this throughout the early running in the NLS and the 2 qualifying races a couple of weekends ago. Another thing to keep your eye out for is for the unique additional lighting on the KTM Crossbow. It is underneath the front of the car and all in the middle of the car. So not quite a Cyclops, but it's kind of got that idea. Very low down, very bright white light, but all in the middle of that front grille, and about to be hassled by another BMW is there on the Grand Prix circuit at the moment. Nicky Katzberg in the number 98. That car with the quickest time in 8:17.540. That was John Edwards' time from early on. Raffaele Mattiello is now behind the wheel of the second place car, the number 12 AMG Team Bilstein. Tok Sport and Mathieu Jaminet in the Porsche for the number 27 car. Tok Sport coming here full of expectation, really. They really feel like they're getting on top of that Porsche now. Then it's Daniel Juncadella for Team Get Speed in one of the 2 pink, blue and white Mercedes. That's the number 4 car. Frederick Vervisch for Audi Sport Team Phoenix in 5th position for the 15 car. And all of those top 6 on a lap time of 8 minutes and 17 to 20. 2 seconds between the top 6, which around here is absolutely nothing at all. As out goes Grello, the number 1 defending champion car for Manthey Racing.
That record is in the 12s, set last year in obviously relatively quiet period and dry period of what was a very interrupted 24 hours last year and the year before. The last 2 years, 59 and 85 laps completed for the winner. 7 hours of red flag in 2020 and 10 hours more than 14 hours in 2021.
We did not get 10 hours of racing. I think it was 9:40 something of racing. such as it was, including that just over 3.5 hours of a blast to the end of the race.
And we are expecting rain across the weekend. As we are at the Nürburgring, it always happens. But the forecast isn't vicious. There is spots of rain and localised showers, which will certainly hit the track at some point. But if the conditions stay relatively consistent, then that fog that has affected us over the last couple of years shouldn't come up too much. It does look very cold at night. It does look like it might get down to about 4 degrees.
It's been cold the last couple of nights that we've been here. Very chilly.
We've got a northerly wind at the moment. That's the problem.
It's Arctic. I don't know where it's coming from, but I know where it's going. Hello to Morris GT Ace. Thank you very much for tuning in. And to fans of this race all over the world, hello to Nikolai B, who's in the Nordic countries.
Bit of contact with the barrier for the 107 machine, which is a Porsche 131, sorry.
It's a 992 Cup car with the swan neck rear on that. That's Torsten Jung behind the wheel. What?
Well, it's a tyre barrier here, so we must be on the Grand Prix loop, I'm suspecting.
Yeah, red and white curbs. And he just lost it on his own, pinched it with an older Golf. And that's actually quite a big accident for the 131. And that is the Mühlner Motorsport car that he shares with Michael Rehban, Nick Salowski, Marcel Höpper, all German team in the Cup 2 class, which is the Carrera Cup cars for the new 992 version.
3 layers of tyre barrier down there, and the car looks relatively I think good considering it's hit the barrier quite hard.
Left rear suspension would be my guess there.
Yellow flag showing at marshal point 36, which is Bilstein.
Yeah, correct. Just before you drop down the hill to head on to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. The car is not moving at the moment. Now, there is a place that can be dragged back to. The 992 Cup cars, obviously built into the current iteration of the venerable 911 shape. Just the 8th version of the car since it came out in 1963. And I think right back to form for Porsche and its designers. Real throwback to 964s and the 993s. That is the 4-litre Cup engine, producing just over 500 horsepower. Normally aspirated flat 6. And a thing of beauty, a thing to be celebrated. The sound of that engine. I will put my hand up and say I'm a fan of flat 6s. We have a number of them.
Got 2 cars from Schubert Motorsport yet to have set a lap time out there. The 880, which they are running, which is a BMW M2 Racing Cup, that was single make vehicle that will be used for the BMW Legends race that we're going to get on Saturday morning.
Very excited for that.
Very much looking forward to that. Difficult cars, the M2 Racing Cup car, to really extract the best time out of. They're built for sort of your first step into GT racing. They do move around a lot. There's not a lot of aero that pushes them onto the ground, and they slide around a huge amount.
They are the natural successor to the 235, which then became the 240. And that is, in BMW M Performance's 50th anniversary year, that is the entry level, as you say, Ben. A very, very cost-effective way to go motor racing. There's various national and regional series and a specific class for them here at the Nürburgring for the 24-hour race and for the Nürburgring Längstrecke series as well. And we've seen some very good drivers come out of that and some phenomenal racing in that category and in its predecessor categories down through the years, with places changing on the run to the line. They are so evenly matched, but as you say, difficult to wring a lap time out of consistently. And there's nothing wrong in that, you know. You need to build your confidence in these cars.
The other car that's missing from Schubert Motorsport, which will complete its first lap in just a few moments' time, is their BMW M4 that they're running in the SP9 class. That's the number 20 machine with Kirki Suono aboard that machine in the final sector of the lap. So we should get a lap time from them very shortly, which will leave us with just 3 cars to set a lap time in this first practice session.
Hello to Andrew from Perth, Australia. Good to see relatively clear skies, hoping it continues for the weekend. You've cursed it now, Andrew. You know we'll have to blame you every time there's precipitation. Coming down to the bottom of the hill and the Dunlop hairpin, Talksport Porsche, about to go out onto the Nordschleife. Grello just through the Kleiner Carousel on its way back through the Gallows Hill complex and onto the Dottinger Höhe with a relatively clear track ahead and fast-moving cars. Never difficult to spot the number 1 car as it is this year, sitting in 12th position, just gone down to 12th, and that's because Nicky Katzberg has just improved 8:14.771 to go ahead of Christian Cronjes in the Valkensport car, who'd sneaked up there ahead of Raffaele Marciello. So BMW, Mercedes, then the Talksport number 27 of Matty Campbell. Gilles Gounon's going out in the 5th place AMG Team Get Speed car, and here is Grello coming to the line for Lawrence Vantour, currently in 13th position. Who else has just improved? That would be Kuba Maziak for Scherer Sport Team. Does he go up? He does, a couple of places with an 8:20.484, but the new best time has been improved to an 8:14.771, fully 1.1 seconds ahead of the field now for the Rover Racing BMW M4 GT3, the number 98 car.
This number 1 machine obviously carrying the number 1 due to its success last year, winning with Christensen, Estra and Cairoli. Cairoli not part of that lineup this year. They've also moved to a 4-driver lineup from the 3 drivers that took the victory last year. How many hours of driving each of the 3 of them would have done, considering how little action we had. And we have seen sometimes drivers, certainly 2 years ago, I remember BMW had drivers doing both cars, double bubble, and due to the fact there was very little driving, so the winning team, in fact, which was Katzberg, Sims and Yellerly, I think had Eng in the entry list for that car, should have driven that car and would have done had it been a 24-hour race, but because of the red flag for 7.5 hours, never got in that particular lineup and therefore didn't take victory.
And that's exactly what happened last year for the Grello car with Lars Kern. He didn't get his lap, so was in the team for Manthey. Lars Kern, apart from being a very accomplished racing driver, also legendary status for Porsche road car development, and is normally the driver who does all the fast laps in the road cars to set the records for Porsche around the Nordschleife. So knows this, I think it's fair to say, knows this place pretty well. Nick Tandy did a bit of that as well in his tenure with Porsche as a works driver. He's back with KCMG, Tandy. Hello to the Tandy family, Brittany. And the children will be listening in over the weekend, I'm sure.
Hopefully not listening in right now. They should be at school.
Yeah, probably still.
Yeah, Cairoli's moved to Dynamic for this year's event, so we won't see him in the Manthey car. And Lawrence Vanthor, Frederick Makovicky join that lineup of 4 drivers. Christensen and Estra, therefore, able to defend their title in the team and the car. They took victory. Probably not the same chassis. I imagine that chassis is now in a museum somewhere.
Just under 20 minutes to go, and another problem out on the circuit, and it's another Porsche problem. It's coming down the hill towards the Vidal chicane before they head out onto the Hatzenbach. So still on the Grand Prix circuit, so not that difficult a job to get it back into the pit lane.
I think it might be Nico Menzel in the 21 Huber Motorsport Porsche.
It was definitely MBN on the windscreen, so good spot there. Ben Constanduras, who's alongside me, John Hindhaugh, for this session. We'll roll through the rest of the team once we get into the afternoon and evening qualifying, should I say.
Spectacular photo last night from Porsche races. 36 Porsches on the entry list of the 130. Well, 8 that was on the provisional list. We've only seen 135 on track.
Yeah, they got them all together, didn't they?
Yeah, so I don't know whether we're missing 3 cars from this session or whether we're missing 3 cars generally. But as I say, only 135 cars that we've seen on track so far in this session. And as we've mentioned, a couple of cars yet to set a lap time. The BMW M4 GT4 of GT Tyre Motorsport is out on track but has yet to complete a full lap. We saw CP Racing come out, they went back into the pits and haven't been able to come back out since, which leaves a mystery over the last 3 cars.
Right, well, yeah, good call. We haven't talked about the provisional pole sitters, and this is a qualifying session for the 22 classes. Here's how they stand. SPX, SP9 and SP8 will go in top qualifying. But everybody else, this is a qualifying session, as are the next 2 sessions. As the checkered flag has gone out for whom? I've still got 17 minutes left on the clock here.
Oh, yeah.
How very odd.
I would agree that the session should have been a 90-minute session.
That was what we were told. Finishing the session earlier as maintenance work is required. This is, I'm not entirely certain why that is.
Well, we saw where the Porsche went off. He did remove the tyre barrier quite a lot, didn't he?
Good call. So a good opportunity then to for me to give you the provisional pole sitters. We'll start at the back of the field with V4 and the FK Performance BMW in 114th position. VT3, Team Mathol Racing in their Cayman 718S. That's the number 300 car in 111th. The V5 provisional pole sitter is Adrenaline Motorsports Cayman 981, the 444 car in 106th. 106th. In 103rd, SP3 top qualifier at the moment is the Toyota Corolla Altis. That is the Team Thailand car, the 119. VT2 front-wheel drive is the 332 Hyundai i30N. That's in 100th position. The 240i BMW class, led by the 245 Schnitzelarm Racing GmbH. That is the leader in that category in 97th. That was what I was trying to say. VT2 front-wheel drive is the VK Performance Motorsport 330i. Rear drive, yes, that's what I said. And that is the 336 in 94th. V6 is led in 91st overall by Adrenaline Motorsports Cayman S981. Porsche 718 GTS, the SP4T is the privately engined number 718 in 84th position. In Cup 5, M2 Racing Cup category, it's another Adrenaline Motorsport team car, it's the 871. They're in 77th position. Huber Motorsport have the provisional pole in the 991 Porsche Carrera Cup class. That is the SP7 category, and they're in 68th position. The Subaru is at the head of SP3T. This is the STI International 114 car. Hoffa Racing and the 200 car in 62nd position is provisionally on pole position for SP6 with their E46 GTR BMW M3. M4 GT4 Evo 2021 for the privately entered number 79 in 55th position. That leads SP10, so provisionally on pole position there. TCR, Hyundai Motorsport for the Elantra TCR, running in a very creditable 54th position. Manuel Lauch brought that one across the line, the 830. Another FK Performance Motorsport provisional pole sitter in 51st position for a 718 Cayman GTS. That is the number 263. One position further up in 50th for SP8T and that's the Durr Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage, the number 150. The Dodge Viper CC GT3 leads the alternative fuel category in 41st position. That's a privately entered car. Klaus Abelen for Frickadelli Racing Team. Great to see him back behind the wheel, and that team here, they are leading the Carrera Cup 2 category in 35th position with the 128. The 160 is leading the Cup X class. That is the KTM Crossboard GTX of Teichmann Racing. In 15th position, SPX is the True Racing Crossboard GT2. Marcus Baltala behind the wheel of that. And I did try to look to see where the Glickenhaus was. They haven't really shown. And top of the shop is the BMW M4 GT3 of von der Linde and his teammates. That's the Rove Racing car, the number 98. And I said I would try and find the 702. They weren't here for yesterday. That car was taken away after scrutineering. They have run some laps today, but they haven't troubled the top of the scoring. They may be running a different scheme of things and breaking components in, running components in, but I'm not sure that's the best of news if you are following the American supercar. So we'll try and find out in the intervening time what is going where. But at the front of the field, the cream has risen to the top, Ben, with Rover Racing, Valkenhorst Motorsport, Team Bilstein, Talksport Porsche, Team Get Speed, Phoenix, KCMG, Rover Racing again, TF Sport, 9th position for the Aston, and the top 10 made up by last year's race winners. That's a decent run for those guys at the top of the field.
Very hard also to get a clear lap in with just 38 minutes of green flag, clear track running. We've had 15 minutes of yellow flag, and at the end of the session there we had a slow zone and a code 60 zone around where the barriers have been damaged on the inside of the Bilstein corner, which is the fast right-hander going on to the fast last part of the Grand Prix lap, and we just saw a replay of the Porsche getting offline and trying to apply the accelerator without really opening the steering, and so contact with the tyre wall, which needs now to be replaced, as well as the barrier as well.
So an early end to this session, losing around about 17 minutes of qualifying time here. We will be back with the evening session, another qualifying session, so the times will count. Weather at the moment really, really lovely. One or two incidents, including the CP Racing number 21 car coming into contact with the Toyota Altis of Team Toyota Gazoo Thailand, and they were asked to go and see the clerk of the course there. And then with 17 minutes to go, the number 131 Porsche hitting the wall on the Grand Prix circuit very hard indeed, and the session coming to a halt for barrier repairs, meaning that we lost a little over, as I say, 17 minutes of that session, which is not what people want to see, particularly in the lower classes, because these are their qualifying times. So just a quick reminder of what has happened then in this slightly truncated session with BMW and Rover with their M4 GT3 on top of the pile by what was a pretty healthy 1.1 seconds at the end from Valkenhorst Motorsport and another BMW, then Mercedes Team Bilstein, Talksport Porsche, Team Get Speed Mercedes, Audi Team Phoenix, KCMG in their Porsche, Rover Racing with the second of their BMWs, Aston Martin Vantage from TF Sport, and Manthey making up the top 10. Looking further down for some of the class leaders, SPX was in 15th position, the best of those. True Racing with the KTM Crossbow, and Marcus Baltala in the Cup X. You have to go down into the 30s for Teichmann Racing in another crossbow, but this time in GTX category, and down in the mid-30s for Klaus Abelen for Frickadelli for the GT3 Cup 2 runners. 22 classes here across the weekend. Dodge Viper, the best of the AT class runners, in 41st position. In 50th, Aston Martin GT4, which is the SP8T category from Dürr Motorsport. And then down into the 50s with Cup 3, FK Performance leading that with a 263 car in 51st position. TCR, Hyundai Motorsport, the 820. Thomas Lauk last in the Elantra. SP10 BMW, that was the best car there in 55th position for the number 79, the privately entered car. Hoffa Racing in 63rd, the best of the SP3Ts. And a little further down, 66th for the Subaru, leading SP3T. SP7, Hoover Motorsport in 68th position. And then down into the 70s. How many cars, Ben, did you reckon we didn't see? Just 3 at the end?
If the entry list is 138 confirmed, then we're missing 3.
Okay. Cup 5, Adrenaline Motorsport in 78th position. They are on provisional pole there with their M2 Racing Cup. And as we head into the 80s, we'll find some more class leaders. SP4T, a privately entered 718 Cayman in 85th position, the 718. And then we have to wait to the 90s for our next pole sitter. It's another Adrenaline Motorsport Porsche Cayman, this time a 981S. That's the number 396 in their lead V6. In 95th position, VT2 rear drive, the 336 FK Performance BMW. 97th, the 240i class is led by Schnitzelarm Racing GmbH with the 245 car. And in 100th position, the front-wheel drive VT2 category leader, Hyundai Driving Experience with the i30N. 103rd, that's a class leader as well in SP3 for Toyota Gazoo Racing, the all-Thai team Toyota Altis, the 119. V5 in 106th position, Adrenaline Motorsports Cayman. And FK Performance in 107th position for the 325i. And our final class leader, the 300 car in 113th position for Mathol Racing's Porsche 718S. And beyond that, we had problems for the Toyota Corolla Altis in 120, in position 121. That was the car that lost the right-hand side door. 132 cars seen, and the last out there, the number 118, the Dacia Logan, which did get out on the circuit. I have a feeling we'll be talking about that car in our rundowns quite a lot. The Team Mottler Flex car, Jürgen Bussmann, Oliver Kreiser, Michael and Yannick Lackmeyer. Back for the evening session. Join us then. Bye-bye.